Well, my next guest is an All-American champion, and I'm not just talking about her swimming career. She's a courageous champion for women's sports and protecting Title IX. That's given women real opportunities to be in competitive sports. Well, that is until biological men have tried to destroy those opportunities by cheating and pretending that they're women. I want you to welcome five-time SEC champion, author of the brand new book called Swimming Against the Current. Give it up for Riley Gaines. I will say to you, welcome back, because you were with us before. But my goodness, your life has taken some interesting turns. Did you ever imagine that simply standing up for yourself, you were going to end up being either one of the most loved or hated women in America?
That's a good way to put it, because that's exactly how it feels. But no, how in the world could anyone have ever anticipated this, much less for myself or anyone for that matter? But it's a necessary position. It is a worthwhile position, and I would argue it's an urgent position. But, you know, the position that I'm in, we've got wonderful leaders like Governor Landry, your daughter, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, both of which we heard a bunch of things that he's done. But what he just did in recent weeks, maybe 2 weeks ago, is he signed a bill into effect, making Louisiana the 8th state that has defined the word woman in law, which is crazy.
It is crazy that we have to even do that. I mean, who would have ever thought that that was going to be necessary to say, okay, we're going to tell you in law what a woman is?
We have a sitting Supreme Court justice who can't even answer the question of what is a woman, because she claims she's not a biologist. Well, guess what? I'm not a veterinarian, but I know what a dog is. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And it's no surprise that this is the same Supreme Court justice who a few weeks ago in an interview, she said she felt like our First Amendment rights were hamstringing the government. Precisely. That is precisely what our First Amendment rights are supposed to do. That's why we have the Bill of Rights. And if our government can't understand or abide by that, that's precisely why we have the Second Amendment. So, no surprise there.
You know, it's almost like people don't realize that every one of the Bill of Rights was a restriction on government, never on citizens. It told government what it couldn't do. It never told citizens what it couldn't do. It gave them the freedom. Well, you exercised your freedom, and for that, you even were held hostage for a little while back in California when you went to speak. I mean, tell us about that, because that was one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, no, that was insane, to say the least. I went to San Francisco, which was my first mistake, going to San Francisco. But really, I went there with the intention of sharing a very similar message to what you're hearing right now, what I've been speaking about for 2 years. But I was naive to believe that this was at San Francisco State University. So I was naive to believe that these students and community members would come with an open mind and the willingness to have their hearts softened, because they did not. They came with pitchforks and fire. And upon delivering my message, I was ambushed. I was attacked. These protesters, hundreds of them, they entered into the room, they turned the lights off, they rushed to the front. That's when I'm being pushed, I'm being shoved, I'm being punched in the face by these men wearing dresses, which fortunately for me, their punches really don't hurt that bad. But really, they ended up holding me for ransom for 4 or 5 hours throughout the middle of the night, demanding that if I wanted to make it home to see my family safely again, I had to pay them money.
Where were the law enforcement people?
Governor Huckabee, this was in San Francisco. They were being held for ransom with me.
Oh, my soul.
It sounds crazy, but
it is crazy.
Looking at the police officers, pretty sure we're being held against our will. Pretty sure we call that kidnapping.
Yeah.
Isn't there something you can do? To which they said, no, there's not. There's nothing we can do. We're not allowed to do anything, because we're not allowed to be seen as anything other than an ally to this community, or else we'll lose our jobs. Keep in mind, the same community who's on the other side of the door, calling these officers racist pigs for protecting a white girl like me.
It's hard to believe that you were in the same country that some of us live in, because I don't recognize that. but it shows the insanity of so many people. I remember when that whole collegiate swimming thing happened, and the man who pretended to be a woman and called himself Leah Thomas swam. You tied, but they gave him the medal, and they made a big deal out of it. He went into the locker room with the girls. I don't want to get disgusting here, but I mean, did you guys, I mean, wasn't that just a total invasion of your privacy and modesty to have some guy come in and undress in front of you and pretend that he was one of you?
To put it lightly, that's how I would describe it. It felt like betrayal, really. Of course, it's awkward. And speaking specifically to the locker room, it's awkward, it's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable. But I think the best way to describe the general consensus of how we all felt was traumatized. And not even necessarily traumatized because of what we were forced to see or how we were forcibly and non-consensually exploited. It was traumatic for me to know just how easy it was for those people who created these policies and enforced these policies to totally dismiss our rights to privacy without even a second thought, without even bare minimum forewarning us that we would be sharing this changing space.
You know, before we go to break, I think a nice postscript here is that this week he was denied the opportunity to swim as a woman in the Olympic Games because he's not a woman. Were you surprised that they said no?
You know what? I'll say that I wasn't surprised just because, I mean, I cannot believe we have to have a court ruling that says men and women are different. I mean, this is essentially, we're all just basically cheering on, it's the equivalent of cheering on a judge who says the sun sets in the west.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. But in today's climate, the cultural shift that we have seen, maybe it is surprising that we have, especially given everything that's going on in New York with President Trump, maybe it is surprising that we have a justice system that adheres to its original intent, why it's there. So maybe it is surprising.
We want you to stay with us. This is a remarkable young lady. I'm telling you, she is one of the most courageous people, male or female, in our country right now, to put up with what she's doing. Something really, really huge happened this week in the courtroom. More of my conversation with Riley Gaines is coming up. You do not want to miss it. But right now, Keith, I know there's even more show later. What do we got? We are back with 12-time All-American swimmer Riley Gaines. Riley, this week, something really huge happened in a Texas courtroom. A judge has now said that the Biden administration cannot just take its eraser and scrub Title IX right off the law book. Explain to us, because a lot of people hear the term Title IX, and they don't understand what that means. It's a 50-year-old effort. What does that do with this judge's ruling?
Yes. So Title IX was enacted in 1972. So it's 52 years old. In its original implementation, it's only 37 words, very short piece of legislation, a little paragraph, one word being activity, which ultimately allowed Title IX to be what it's most notable for, which is giving equal opportunity in sports. But we have an administration in the White House right now who has actively and illegally, an illegal administrative rewrite of Title IX, wrote a new proposal, entirely changing Title IX's original intent. They took this 37 words and created a new proposal that's almost 500,000 words. That should tell you everything that you need to know right there. 37 words to now 1,577 pages long. And what he's done here, what President Biden has done, is equate sex with gender identity. Say those, the same thing, they're synonymous, those words are interchangeable, which allows for men to take academic and athletic scholarships away from women. It allows men to have full access in bathrooms, locker rooms, changing spaces on any college campus or any educational program that receives federal funding. It allows for men to be housed in dorm rooms with women. Your speech would be compelled. So if you, a student or a professor or a coach for that matter, if you don't use the biologically incorrect but preferred pronouns, you would be guilty under this new rewrite. You would be guilty and charged with sexual harassment. Not the man parading around your locker room. No, to President Biden, that's considered brave. He said it many times. He says, these are the most brave and inspiring people I've ever met. But you calling a spade is grounds for sexual harassment.
I'm going to tell you what courage is. Courage is what I'm looking at right here. I'm looking at courage. And thank God for you, Riley. You know, it was pretty obvious that Joe Biden couldn't do that because this was a law. The executive branch cannot write law. That is the role of the legislative branch. And if you make administrative changes, you have to go through a process called the APA, Administrative Procedures Act. It's a complicated process. You have hearings, you bring in witnesses, and he just did it all by himself. And the Texas judge ruled, I think, not just correctly, but almost without even thinking of it. What else could he do? Let me go to this. You've written a book, Swimming Against the Current. I think it's an important book. I hope every mom, every grandmother, and every young lady reads your book and understands that it's not just women playing sports, it's women taking a stand for being a female. And that's what you've really chronicled in the book. And when you wrote this, I'm guessing that 3 years ago, 2 years ago, you weren't thinking I'm going to be traveling all over the country speaking, writing books, doing TV interviews, being an advocate for Title IX sports. But here you are. And what do you wake up every day and say, oh my, what have I done?
Yeah, that's about right. It really is. I have to remind myself, I mean, the platform that has been built now, the impact that has been had, it's merely for saying that men and women are different. That's it. That's it. There are two sexes. You can't change your sex, and each sex is deserving of equal opportunity, privacy, and safety. But for saying that, you're met with some of the most heinous, profane, obscene, violence in many cases. Some of the most insane attacks you could possibly imagine. I've been spit on. I've been attacked. I've been held for ransom. The list goes on. You know, this is hilarious to me. The National Organization of Women, right now, this is the group that wore the pink hats. They fought for Title IX.
Yeah.
They just released an article that said I was a white supremacist patriarchist. I don't even know what that means.
A patriarchist, that on its face is absurd.
Yes. But all of that to say, again, it's been 2 years now of ups and downs, and it's been a total whirlwind. So to be able to add author to my resume, I actually just found out the book is a national bestseller, which is very exciting.
Good for you. It should be. One of the things I think makes you so effective, you're such an articulate person and you make sense of it. Riley Gaines, I don't know what they think of you in San Francisco, but on this show, you are our hero, and we're glad to have you. You can keep up with all of Riley's endeavors and get this brand new book called Swimming Against the Current. If you visit Huckabee.tv, we will tell you how to get your copy, and I hope you'll do it right now. In the meantime, Keith Bilbrey, what's coming up?